I've gotta say, Delta, treasure hunting is pretty easy. Who knew ancient civilizations just left all their valuables lying around in forgotten underground vaults? We'll come back for the rest later. I bet we could start our own souvenir stand once we clear this place out.
Finally, I am free. After countless centuries, I can now unleash... Oh, this place hasn't been dusted in generations. Where's my allergy medicine?
Good morning everyone, and welcome. Today I'll be starting a new series to coincide with my 5-room dungeons video as my group transitions from Dungeons & Dragons to MCDM's Draw Steel. In order to make these new dungeons more dynamic, I'm adding a new feature based on a design by the late Jaquaysing. Janelle was an award-winning artist, writer, and game designer who worked with a number of gaming companies during her career, as well as doing her own freelance work. Most notable was her dynamic approach to level design, which broke away from linear adventures, now known as Jaquaysing a Dungeon. Unlike John 4's 5-room dungeon model for creating dungeons, Janelle's design was a troubleshooting model used to critique dungeons that had already been built and improve their design by adding multiple pathways. In this video, I'll be showcasing a new 5-room dungeon designed for Draw Steel. But rather than making it a linear dungeon, I'll also include additional entrances, paths, loops, and secret passages along the way. This will help make every journey to this dungeon unique, with new options for subsequent playthroughs. And now, let's get started. In the world of Ambrosia, in the great continent of Amber, lies the frontier, a stretch of land caught between the rivalries of the Blessed Lands to the west and the Cursed Lands of the east, a land of both balance and conflict. In the southernmost part of the frontier is the Machanga territory, a sprawling desert split by the Takiti Maji, a long and winding river running south to the coast. Recently, in the desert town of Bandari, an ancient artifact passed into the hands of some traveling scholars. These travelers eventually discovered the original resting place of the artifact, a collection of buried ruins several leagues outside of town. With permission from the local government of Bandari, the scholars began excavating the historical site, searching for more relics of the past. Based on several inscriptions first discovered at the site, it was dubbed the Mujri'fatan Excavation, and has become a hotbed of activity since the project began. While this dungeon is designed for my Duality, Blessings and Curses setting, it can easily be adapted to your own Draw Steel world. Simply place it in a desert or other sparsely populated wilderness with a single town about a day's journey away. You can also change any of the locations, characters, or factions to fit your own game setting. When your party arrives at the desert town of Bandari, they'll hear plenty of talk about the excavation at Mujri'fatan. If they don't take an interest in the dig site initially, they can be approached by Mayor Jua, who tells them that the researchers are hiring guards to escort teams into the deeper sections of the ruins. However, once they arrive at the site, they find a stern-looking scholar and her burly companion ready to test their skills before accepting the party's help. Looking in the mirror and seeing a stranger is a high elf follower of Ligera Tor, a saint dedicated to preserving ancient knowledge in the world of Ambrosia. She originally left her homeland to explore the wonders of the world, both present and past. Mirror's elven glamour doesn't work as well as it used to, making her appear pretty but unkempt to most observers. She prefers a practical look, wearing a rugged blue dress, sturdy boots, and her dark gray hair tied back in a braid with a few stray strands poking out. Mirror purchased a golden scepter from a treasure hunter in Bandari, which eventually led her to Mujri'fatan. She is now the leader of the archaeological dig at this site. Accompanying Mirror is Aborza, a dwarven woman who honors Ine Volt, patron saint of archaeologists, treasure hunters, and seekers of lost things. The dwarf earned the nickname Landslide due to her stone singer ability, which she frequently uses to move sand and loose rubble in order to open new passages at the site. Aborza also maintains a voice runic carving on her stony gray skin to communicate telepathically with Mirror and keep the elf from harm. Historians would describe Mirror and Aborza as very close friends. The two women are unimpressed by the heroes when they first arrive at Mujri'fatan. To ensure they are suitable for the task ahead, they are first given several mundane assignments to assist the other workers at the excavation site, after which they can test their knowledge of archaeology by examining some of the minor relics found at the site. This takes the form of a montage test, as presented in the Draw Steel rules. This is an easy test that requires the party to earn 5 victories before they get 5 failures, adjusted for larger or smaller groups. During the first round, they must assist in mundane tasks, all with a medium difficulty. This includes driving off jackals at the outskirts of the excavation, clearing heavy stones from the site, finding minor artifacts in the area, and recovering some relics from a narrow space. During the second round, the party can assist in basic archaeology by carefully cleaning an inscription on a weathered stone wall, determining the most likely use of various relics, examining cloth scraps and identifying valuable tapestry pieces, and determining what creatures were carved in an ancient pictograph, which turn out to be demons. The relic functions and creature identification tests are both medium, while the stone inscription and cloth scraps are hard tests, but these last two also have an additional reward if successfully completed. Feel free to add additional tasks or let your party come up with ones that seem appropriate, especially for larger groups. Should the heroes achieve total success on the montage test, they are given access to the underground section of the excavation by Mira and Aborza. On a total failure, they are sent away from the dig site due to their recklessness around the fragile artifacts. On a partial success, they are allowed to enter the lower areas of Mujri'fatan, but are assigned an escort, the devil Viliaric, whom they meet in the next room of the dungeon. Being sent away from the excavation isn't necessarily the end of the adventure, as the party can attempt to sneak back in or locate a secret entrance to the underground portion of the dig site. Succeeding on the cloth scraps test reveals a faded map on a piece of old cloth detailing the underground rooms of the site, including a secret passage in the southeast. Success on the stone inscription test uncovers this secret passage, giving the heroes an alternate entrance into the depths of Mujri'fatan. When the heroes enter one of the three main halls extending from the courtyard above, they meet Viliaric, the pink-skinned devil tasked with cataloging the various relics found within the excavation. Unknown to Mira or Aborza, he is a devoted follower of Inferus, patron saint of criminals and charlatans. A resident of Bandari, Viliaric used his silver tongue to worm his way into the expedition. Now he plans to pilfer the occasional artifact and sell it to the highest bidder back in town. Viliaric assumes that the heroes join the expedition because they have some knowledge of the history of this region. Clipboard and quill in hand, he escorts them through the three halls, quizzing the group on the value of different items the excavation team has discovered in order to find something worth stealing. The west chamber has been named the Hall of Artisans. This room contains several stone work tables and benches along with shelves and scroll cases on each wall. Ancient stone and wood carving tools line one of the tables, while another contains bits of glass and crystal. A third table holds cracked parchment taken from the scroll cases to be deciphered. At Viliaric's prodding, the heroes can examine each set of items and make an assessment of their worth. A successful medium reason test using the architecture or carpentry skills determines that the tools may have some value to a woodworker or stone carver, but would otherwise only be of interest to a historian. A similar test with the jewelry skill reveals that the glass beads only have historical or novelty value. However, a careful examination of the parchments using the history, magic, or religion skill identifies one as a recipe for a healing potion, something that piques Viliaric's interest. The hero is welcome to keep this information a secret from the devil. Note that any success with consequence result during these tests leads to the hero damaging one of the examined items and potentially drawing Mira's ire later on. To the south lies the Hall of Warriors, so named for the entombed soldiers along the walls. Mira left specific instructions not to disturb these sarcophagi in order to preserve the historical accuracy of the chamber, while Aborza gave the same instructions in case the soldiers proved to be animated undead. So far, these dead warriors have remained at rest. Viliaric is a bit unnerved within this chamber, but his greed outweighs his fear. While the devil is enticed by the bits of gold and gemstone adornments on the coffins, he refused to disturb them and instead asks the heroes if they can find anything else of value that the superstitious workers might have overlooked. Thus far, the only items gathered in the room are a handful of stone spearheads, some ceramic bowls, and an ancient wine jar. A hard intuition test with the search skill reveals an overturned bowl of ancient bronze coins. Viliaric quickly gathers the coins and pretends to catalog them on his sheet, making plans to smuggle them out later. Failing the test with a consequence knocks open one of the sarcophagi, spilling the dead warrior's skeleton onto the floor, fortunately without animating it. However, this immediately draws Mira and Aborza's attention. After a scathing lecture, the heroes are sent back out to complete 3 more tasks from the original montage test, or forced to leave the excavation site. The eastern chamber has been declared the Hall of Corpses, even though there are no full bodies located here. It holds a long basin in the center of the room and a stone table along the wall. The basin contains several humanoid bones, including a skull, several ribs, finger bones, and a femur. On the table are several sealed pots fashioned to resemble the embalmed organs they contain. as well as some tarnished silver surgical tools. As with the Hall of Warriors, Viliaric remains on edge in this room. After giving the heroes instructions to determine how valuable the relics within the chamber are, he heads back to the courtyard for a breath of fresh air. The only items of immediate and obvious value in the room are the silver embalming tools. However, unscrupulous characters may be able to earn even more coin by selling the sealed organs to a necromancer or alchemist in the Cursed Lands. A successful hard reason test with the alchemy or criminal underworld skill would reveal this information, and sharing it with Viliaric would earn the hero a favor from the devil. However, a failure with consequence shatters one of the jars during examination, spilling the embalmed organ on the floor. Doing so means the heroes must endure a verbal beating from the site leader before being sent out to aid the excavation workers once more, or leave the dig site. A secret the party may discover in this room involves the skull in the stone basin. An easy reason test with the magic, nature, or religion skill reveals that the skull is much newer than the other bones. If the party has a consequence on the test, they inadvertently crack the skull, although the damage magically repairs on its own within a day. A reward on the test reveals that the skull has traces of magical energy not originating from the dig site. It clearly belongs somewhere else. Sharing this knowledge with Viliaric earns a mediocre response from the superstitious devil who prefers to avoid such things. After the party has satisfied Viliaric's curiosity regarding the value of all the discovered relics, he leads them to the entrance of the northern chamber. Once sealed on both sides by solid stone, these barriers have crumbled enough to allow someone to crawl through. The devil admits that no one from the expedition has ventured into the chamber, but the heroes seem to be destined for the job. He bids them good luck and returns to his duties. If the party snuck into the lower chambers or entered through the secret passage, they first encounter Viliaric attempting to steal some relic. Realizing that the party doesn't have permission to enter the site, the devil attempts to strike a deal with them. They ignore his theft, and he escorts them through the lower chambers, no questions asked. If they agree, he leads them to one of the rubble-strewn entrances of the northern hall, claiming that some great treasure lies beyond. With a quick goodbye, he returns to his nefarious activities and leaves the heroes to their own devices. However, if they try to attack the devil, the conflict draws Mirror, Aborza, and the other workers to the lower halls. The party, and possibly Viliaric if they expose his theft, are banished from the excavation site permanently. After climbing over a broken stone slab, the heroes enter a chamber supported by 4 sandstone columns. Many of the floor tiles have disintegrated into sand over time. Another crumbling slab partially blocks the opposite passage, while a third damaged slab fills most of the doorway to the north. The remains of this one covered in cryptic runes similar to the pictographs above. Several natural and mechanical hazards fill this previously sealed chamber, some of which have been restored by the ancient evil imprisoned in the next room. The party will need to bypass these traps to reach the central tomb to the north. Refer to the section on dynamic terrain objects in the monster's manuscript for the stats of each of these hazards. One patch of sand in the room is actually quicksand and can slow or restrain heroes who enter it, potentially suffocating them. Another section is home to a colony of poisonous scarabs that attack the heroes if disturbed. Use the Angry Beehive stats with the Hidden Hive upgrade for this hazard. The 4 columns in the room are each surrounded by pressure plates and function as a column of blades mechanism with the concealed upgrade. The sandstone columns have the same stamina as standard wooden ones. 2 additional pressure plates in front of this north passage each trigger a dart trap with the poison darts upgrade. All of these traps exist to prevent anyone from releasing the ancient evil sealed in the tomb beyond this chamber. Disabling or bypassing these hazards earns the heroes 1 victory apiece. Once the heroes have passed the trap-filled room and climbed over yet another crumbling stone slab, they enter the final chamber of Mujri'fatan. Within this room is a dark pit filled with swirling shadows. Surrounding it are 4 stone daises, 3 of which are topped with a golden scepter. As the party approaches the pit, an amorphous black mass rises up and utters the guttural words,
"Arise, demons of the waste, and do my bidding. Use these mortals to break the remaining seals."
The ancient evil within the pit summons 3 Ramash demons, accompanied by 2 squads of ensnarers to attack the party. The Ramashes can spend malice in conjunction with their abyssal strike to reposition heroes or other demons on the battlefield, while the ensnarers can use their barbed tongues to pull the heroes into the golden scepters. The demons' goal is to shove the party into the scepters to break the remaining seals that hold the ancient evil at bay. If any of the demons touch or are moved into the scepters, they immediately die. The heroes cannot attack or be attacked by the ancient evil, but anyone starting their turn adjacent to it takes 1d10 corruption damage. This combat has an encounter value of 24 and is a standard encounter for a party of 4 first-level heroes. You can alter the number of demons to increase or decrease the encounter strength, depending on your party's composition and current victories. If the 3 remaining seals are removed, whether intentionally by the heroes or during the course of battle, the ancient evil is released from its prison in Mujri'fatan. The dark pit where it was held becomes nothing more than a shallow hole. Only by recovering the 4th seal from Mirror and returning it to its stand can the evil be contained once more. If the heroes can't do that, then it's only a matter of time before the foul being breaks free to roam all of Ambrosia. The treasure the party may acquire within this dungeon is the Seal of Mujri'fatan, one of the golden scepters that keeps the ancient evil imprisoned within the site. The seal is a flanged mace that functions as a medium weapon and has special properties when wielded against demons or undead. Alternatively, if the party returns the 4th seal to its place in the tomb and once again imprisons the ancient evil, Mirror grants them her notes on the artifact. These texts will allow them to craft a Seal of Mujri'fatan on their own, provided they can acquire the remaining materials needed for such a holy relic. While this dungeon can be traversed in a linear fashion like most other 5-room dungeons, an additional secret entrance and loop through the 3 halls that form the second room do give it some dynamic path elements that it wouldn't have otherwise had. If you have your own dynamic options for this or any other 5-room dungeon on the channel, please leave them in the comments. I would very much like to thank Janelle Jaquays for her inspiration on this new series. Her contributions to the gaming industry are too numerous to list here, but I'll always be grateful for this troubleshooting method for creating dynamic dungeons. Jaquaysing the Dungeon is something I look forward to implementing many more times in the future. That does it for this episode. I hope you find a place for the Mujri'fatan Excavation in your Draw Steel game. And consider Jaquaysing your own dungeon to create a more dynamic location for your players to explore. Until next time, I'm David Watches.
I'm Nepal Man DF. Did you hear something? Must have been the wind.
And thanks for watching.
For more gaming tips, check out these hot videos.